Behind rusted gates and tangled vines in Mount Kisco, New York, stands a crumbling blue house that was once the beating heart of one of hip-hop's most electric forces, DMX. But now, silence suffocates the air around it, and its fading paint whispers stories of a life that once roared with platinum albums, sold-out concerts, and global fame. News crews arriving at the property find a shell of what was broken shutters hang limp. A cracked driveway stretches like a scar, and inside, dust coats every surface once touched by a family's love. This isn't just a celebrity home gone to ruin, it's a chilling metaphor for the rise and collapse of Earl Simmons, better known to the world as DMX. Once inside the music industry's brightest spotlight, the rapper's life was a chaotic mix of soaring triumphs and earth-shattering lows. Today, the home he bought for nearly $650,000 in 2000, at the height of his dominance, is abandoned, a ghost of its past. And as weeds take over the lawn, and time eats away at the hardwood floors, we're left asking, how did the man who gave us anthems that shook the world end up here? This house, now silent and forgotten, hides more than broken furniture and decaying memories. It hides the scars of fame, addiction, legal warfare, and heartbreak. But this is just where our story begins. To understand how the crown slipped from a rap king's head, we must first rewind to the streets of Yonkers, where a boy named Earl turned pain into poetry and rage into rhythm. What follows is a tale of raw ambition, unstoppable force, and a downfall so tragic that even the walls of this abandoned home seem to mourn the loss. Long before he became the barking, shirtless force of nature commanding stadiums, DMX was Earl Simmons, a child raised in the turbulent shadows of Yonkers, New York, where poverty, abuse, and neglect wrapped themselves around his youth like a chokehold. Born in 1970 in Mount Vernon, DMX's early life was a battlefield of survival. He was shuffled through group homes, arrested repeatedly, and left emotionally scarred by a household void of warmth. But through that darkness emerged a weapon: his voice. At just 14, Earl's life changed after meeting local beatboxer Reddy Ron, who introduced him to the world of hip-hop. With nothing but a notebook and a hunger to be heard, he began rapping with a fury that mirrored the violence and grief of his reality. The name DMX came from a drum machine at a group home, but it would soon echo in every club, radio station, and arena across America. His lyrics weren't just words, they were wounds, confessions, and war cries. By the mid-90s, DMX clawed his way out of the underground, featuring on tracks with LL Cool J and others, but it was 1998 that changed everything. His debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, exploded onto the scene like a Molotov cocktail, selling over 5 million copies and marking him as a voice the world could no longer ignore. With tracks like Rough Riders Anthem and Get At Me Dog, he didn't just rap, he testified. And while other rappers boasted luxury, DMX offered rawness, pain, and prayer. His voice was cracked, gravelly, tortured, and the world listened. He wasn't just another rapper, he was a survivor with a mic, and he was only getting started. DMX didn't just step into the rap game, he bulldozed his way in, unleashing a string of albums that made Billboard history and set new standards for commercial and cultural dominance. In 1998, months after the success of his debut, he followed it up with Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which also debuted at number 1, making him the first artist ever to release 2 platinum number 1 albums in the same year. And then there was X in 1999, a monstrous success featuring the iconic Party Up Up in Here, which became a global anthem for chaos and hype. Stadiums shook, clubs erupted, and DMX's name soared beyond rap into pop culture itself. He wasn't polished, he was primal, spiritual, and terrifyingly real. Over the next decade, DMX would release a total of 8 studio albums, sell more than 70 million records worldwide, and dominate every stage he stepped on. His hits like X Gon' Give It to Ya, Where the Hood At, and What's My Name weren't just songs. They were declarations, shirtless and snarling like a pit bull. He led thousands in prayer before launching into fiery verses that felt more like exorcisms than performances. Critics couldn't box him in. Fans across races and nations saw themselves in his struggle, his fight, his redemption. But while the music world basked in the glory of DMX's reign, a darker storm loomed behind the curtain, threatening to rip it all away. As DMX's voice thundered through stereos, it didn't take long before Hollywood heard the call. With his raw charisma, unfiltered energy, and larger-than-life presence, he made the leap from rap icon to action star with unsettling ease. In 1998, he starred in Belly, a gritty crime drama that cemented his crossover appeal. But that was only the beginning. He teamed up with Jet Li and Aaliyah in Romeo Must Die, then followed up with Exit Wounds and Cradle to the Grave, films that, while not Oscar contenders, packed theaters and thrilled audiences hungry for realness in their action heroes. DMX didn't play characters. He brought himself to the screen. The same rawness that haunted his verses, now weaponized into roles that mirrored his battles. He wasn't acting, he was unleashing. His on-screen presence was magnetic, and directors knew they were dealing with something rare, a man who could dominate the booth and the big screen with equal force. Altogether, his movies grossed hundreds of millions globally, earning him millions in acting fees and proving that his brand had the reach to transcend music. But behind the Hollywood lights, legal issues, addiction, and personal demons trailed him like shadows, always threatening to pull him back down. Fame was never enough to silence the war within. Tucked away in the quiet suburbs of Mount Kisco, New York, sits a home frozen in time, a 3,600 square foot mansion with grand ceilings, hardwood floors, and the ghosts of a family once held together by music and love. DMX bought this house at the height of his fame in 2000 for $649,000. Back then, it wasn't just real estate, it was sanctuary. Inside lived Tashera Simmons, his childhood sweetheart and wife, along with their 4 children. This was where laughter echoed down hallways, where beats were crafted, and where a man struggling with demons found fleeting peace. But now the shutters hang crooked, the paint peels in strips, and weeds choke the lawn. Windows are fogged with grime. The fireplace, once a center of warmth and togetherness, sits cold. Every creaking floorboard speaks of abandonment, not just of the house, but of a life unraveling. The mansion, which once held promise and protection, now feels like a tomb for a dream that crumbled under the weight of addiction, lawsuits, and emotional collapse. Tour it today, and you don't just see the decline of property, you see the unraveling of a legacy that was never meant to end in silence. From the chill of Mount Kisco to the burning sun of Arizona, DMX built a second home that stood in stunning contrast to his fading East Coast refuge. In Cave Creek, on a sprawling 2.2-acre lot surrounded by desert mountains and vast skies, stood his 700-square-foot escape, Mediterranean style, with tall stucco walls and a red tile roof. The mansion was a retreat crafted for both luxury and isolation. Inside, the house radiated warmth, sunlight flooded through oversized windows, a polished bar gleamed in the living room, and a private recording studio tucked away allowed DMX to experiment with beats and lyrics without outside pressures. The backyard? A dream. A bubbling hot tub under the stars. A BBQ station for weekend cookouts, and views that stretched into infinity. It wasn't just beautiful, it was therapeutic. This was the place he went when the noise of fame became deafening, when the legal battles became too heavy, when he needed to breathe. In these walls, he reconnected with his art. In the Arizona breeze, he found stillness, if only temporarily. If DMX's homes told stories of silence and sanctuary, his garage roared with confidence, power, and unmatched taste. Each car he owned wasn't just transportation, it was a declaration. From the rugged elegance of a $120,000 Range Rover to the old-school charm of a $90,000 Bentley Arnage, his collection bridged street grit with executive luxury. The BMW 7 Series brought daily comfort with cutting-edge tech, while the crown jewel, a 1998 Lamborghini Diablo VT, was pure adrenaline. That supercar, worth over $250,000, with its scissor doors and brutal V12 engine, wasn't just a vehicle. It was rebellion on wheels. These weren't just cars DMX drove. They were extensions of his persona. Each machine thundered with the same energy he brought to the stage, untamed, unapologetic, unforgettable. But as we'd soon learn, the engines in his garage weren't the only things burning fast. At his peak, DMX was worth an estimated $15 million, raking in money from record deals, sold-out tours, and Hollywood hits. But by the time he passed in 2021, that fortune had flipped into a haunting negative $1 million. What happened? The same intensity that fueled his music bled into reckless financial decisions, brutal legal fees, and suffocating debts. Child support claims piled up, over $1.24 million in overdue payments. By 2013, DMX filed for bankruptcy, revealing just $50,000 in assets and up to $10 million in liabilities. Tax fraud charges followed in 2017, and a conviction in 2018 landed him behind bars once again. Even after his release, the IRS hovered like a ghost, demanding $2.3 million. The music kept earning, yes, even posthumously bringing in hundreds of thousands through streaming and royalties, but the math was unforgiving. DMX made millions, but he lost even more. In the end, the system, the contracts, the courts, and the chaos drained a king until there was almost nothing left but the echo of what once was. Behind the fame, the houses, and the headlines, DMX was a man who loved deeply, and often, he fathered 15 children with 9 different women, each relationship layered in love, heartbreak, and often legal battles. His first and longest-standing love was Tashera Simmons, his wife from 1999 to 2014, with whom he had 4 children. But after the breakdown of their marriage, fueled by incarcerations and infidelity, DMX's romantic life grew complicated. From court-ordered paternity tests to million-dollar child support lawsuits, his relationships frequently made the news. But what's rarely told is how deeply he cared. Friends and partners alike say he never stopped loving his children, even if the structure around him collapsed. At the time of his death, DMX had no will, leading to legal chaos over his estate. Each child, each mother, left to claim their share in a battle that mirrored the complexity of his legacy. In life, he was a father with an enormous heart and enormous flaws. In death, he left behind a family, still sorting through the storm he couldn't calm. On April 2, 2021, the world stopped when news broke that DMX had been rushed to the hospital following a heart attack reportedly caused by an overdose. The fight to save him was desperate. Paramedics worked for 30 minutes, but the damage was catastrophic. His brain starved of oxygen, his body unresponsive. For days, fans clung to hope. But on April 9, DMX was pronounced dead. He was just 50. His passing sent a shockwave through hip-hop. Memorials flooded the airwaves. Barclays Center in Brooklyn hosted a public tribute led by Kanye West's Sunday Service Choir. His casket, red and emblazoned with faith, rode on top of a monster truck, leading a Rough Riders motorcade through Yonkers. Tributes poured in from Jay-Z, Eminem, Gabrielle Union, and even LeBron James. New York's governor ordered flags at half-staff. DMX wasn't just a rapper. He was a prophet of pain, a warrior of truth, and an icon carved from the rawest parts of humanity. And even in death, his voice still echoes, reminding us all that behind every legend is a man, behind every anthem, a wound, and behind every fall, a fight. In the end, DMX's story is not just one of rise and fall. It is a mirror held up to a world that often celebrates talent, but forgets the cost of living with pain. He wasn't perfect, and he never claimed to be. His battles with addiction, the weight of financial collapse, and the heartbreak of unfinished family business don't erase his impact. They underscore it. He was a man who carried his trauma in every verse, whose voice cracked not from weakness, but from truth. From platinum plaques to prison cells, from roaring stadiums to abandoned halls, DMX lived a life most would never survive. And somehow, even in the end, he found a way to inspire. As his music continues to dominate playlists, and his legacy is revisited by new generations, we're reminded that legends don't die, they echo. And while his homes may stand silent, and his bank accounts may have emptied, the imprint he left on culture, on fans and on the music industry, remains eternal. DMX gave us more than music, he gave us his scars, and in doing so, he earned a place among the immortals. This video is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Some of the information presented includes publicly available details, third-party reports, and media coverage. All discussions of personal life events, financial issues and legal matters are based on existing public sources. Speculative content, where present, is clearly framed as such. We strive to maintain respect for all individuals mentioned and do not intend to defame, mislead, or sensationalize beyond factual reporting. If this journey through DMX's extraordinary and tragic life moved you, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who remember his legacy, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the untold stories behind the music's biggest names. Drop a comment below. What DMX track defined your youth? Or what memory of him still gives you chills? We read every comment. Long live the dog.